Hello, friends, and welcome back to playing tribute to Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, where we are on the second trial day of the Cosmic Turnabout. Lots happened. We're kind of back to the full circle of where we've been at the start of the game, where there was the courtroom bombing and then Apollo leaving, and all of the discord and whatever in his voice that Athena heard. So we've come full circle now. We are in the timeline as it should be, and we are going to get to the bottom of some things here. Lots of different things popped up. Last time we met Simon's sister, Simon being Simon Blackwell, the prosecutor, his sister. Athena has something going on, and I believe we heard about a witness, but it wasn't going to be Simon's. Maybe it was going to be Simon's sister. I don't know. I don't fully remember. There's a lot of confusion too with this case, and I do not remember a lot of this game. I just remember like some key story beats, and that is not helping me in this case as it stands now. So let's dive in. Let's see what we've got. And let's look at our evidence. Because I gotta remember to do that. Alright, looks like we're right in the courtroom. So let's take a look at what we have here. We got our badge, of course. Whoops, I always hit the wrong button. Autopsy report. Okay. So I was starting to suspect that maybe he was killed to have something with, like, something to do with the samples that they got. I don't know. Okay. Victim's blood on it. No fingerprints, I think it was. Then there's all of those doors. Certain prints. Oh, and then there was like a difference between, or there's something that Blackwell was very interested in this picture. Like he looked at it really closely or whatever. And I was like, oh, I think I know what he was looking at so much. So, but I didn't reveal what that was, I think. I think it was, I think I let you guys figure that out. So, we'll see if it comes up in court today. Right. The rupture, and we saw where that rupture ended up. It, like, ended up in the ceiling, like on the little thing that spins around, I think, in the lounge. The chair that spins around for the zero gravity stuff. And then we also found out that Starbuck wasn't the one who was carrying the victim was carrying him. Because he was drugged. And he doesn't remember anything. Here's some more cross sections of the Space Center. That's probably going to be important too later. Full-size replica of the hat. And then the Space Museum open. Here's another door. Right, we found that bullet that was like really tiny. We saw a bullet hole, but the bullet is missing. Which is weird, because it went, like, it's not like it would be hidden in a body or something somewhere. There's the capsule that contains asteroid samples, and Ara's statement. Okay, so this is, I think Simon's sister's statement. Because she was leaving. She witnessed. That's why she was the witness. The perp held a lighter with an Earth emblem on their left hand and a knife on their right. So, that's all the stuff that we have. Oh, the judge isn't there. Where's the judge? I suppose we should reconvene to the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something? Oh, right, because the last time we were in court, the courtroom blew up.
Objection!
Your Honor, could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise. Oh, yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first the courtroom exploded. And then Mr. Tonade self-destructed. That's true. I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tonade. Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Mr. Tonade's actions. So you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense. Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far? Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready. Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? Oh, right. He had, like, some sort of vendetta. He was acting very strange. Everybody was acting very strange. I take it you'd like me to give the opening statement this time. Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader. Well, he's certainly seen more than his fair share of colorful prosecutors. You could say he's something of a veteran of sorts. I guess Simon's back to normal, then. Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Terran, escaped from Launchpad number 1, carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center and on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launchpad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. And how could the victim climb down the ladder if he was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved that the victim was killed in the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point? Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Stoner's argument was correct. Okay, so that was what we found. We saw that same thing. So, that means the testimonies of the first two people in the scene are suspect. Right, well, one of them is dead. There were two people who claimed to be the first in the scene. But can we truly trust their statements? Yuri Cosmos and that guy. Oh, Ara was saying something about Cosmos being a sly, talking, suspicious guy. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold. That accursed fellow, he killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm. He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw. Is that another foreign language thing? Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has once again become the main focus of this trial. It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Right, he was on a vendetta, and that's why everybody was, like, mad. Or everybody was acting weird. And then Fulbright had this whole justice query. It's been a couple days for me. Nevertheless, the defense argues that there was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection!
To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man, or a stupid one. There was no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already? Old man.
Objection!
We'll see who's the dotard after I trounce you with my years of experience, little boy. Well played, Phoenix. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. I was waiting for me to say that. Furthermore, Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene. They saw a third person. They saw somebody. I see my sister has been running her mouth. Oh, he knows who it is. Lovely. It's That's right. I almost forgot that Aura is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister. I didn't. No matter. She didn't see this mystery person's face clearly. Therefore, there's no evidence to indicate that this person was not the defendant. I guess the possibility that the figure was Mr. Starbuck is still there. In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene. Director Cosmos, huh? Sorry, I'm like messing up Blackwell's voice. I can't like find it again. Very well, bailiff. Please bring the witness to the stand. Alright. I had like an epic voice for him because of his music. Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers. Of course you have. Of course you have. For I am Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was, of course, named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me? Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging. 7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat 1 and... Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I am trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony? Ha ha ha! I see this fine young lad has a proper appreciation of greatness. Then allow me to begin my... Epic? It would be like an epochal? Or is it a pochal? Epochal. I think it's Greek. Epochal testimony that will be recorded in the annals of history. What speech of Prosecutor Blackwell's just now? It sounded more to me like he was poking fun at Director Cosmos. It's probably for the best that it sailed right over the director's head. Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please. We're just gonna stand here for hours. Detective Arm and I rushed toward the boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Taryn lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. I see. So in your testimony, you claim you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed. Oh, the horror! The humanity! But what I said is what I saw, and what I saw is what I said. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying explosions, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into the epicenter of danger, risking my own life for theirs. Ha 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 ha! Well, what do you know? Sounds like the director really cares about his men. Yeah, although it sounds more like he was scared and just had a peek from far away. Is the defense ready to cross-examine the witness? Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm going to have to press him and draw out some more information before I do anything else. Press everything!
Hold it!
Where were you coming from? The 6th floor. We were making sure any stragglers made their way to the 4th floor. It was then we heard about Starbuck and Taryn and hurried to the 3rd floor lounge. On my galactic scooter here, of course. Why do you keep calling it galactic? Does it have something to do with space? Of course! It's specifically designed to be used on galactic battleships. I see. Then I take it works in 0G too? Sadly, no. With the current state of technology as it is, I am afraid it would just float about, and be galactically useless. Well, that's a galactic bummer. I see. So you rushed the boarding lounge on your space-age pogo stick. And when you got to the scene, what did you see? Hold it! Let's see. According to this diagram, you didn't have to go through the control room to get to the boarding lounge 1. It looks like you could have gone there from the southern corridor as well. Yes, but in her haste, Detective Arm rushed ahead of me toward the control room. All I could do was merely follow behind her. I see. So we peeked into the boarding lounge from the control room door, and... Hold it! So you couldn't see who that figure was, clearly, or what they were doing? Sadly, the only thing I could tell was that it was a person standing motionless. The defendant, no doubt, staring aghast at his deed. What other explanation is there? I'm so close, but without evidence, I can't prove that person's the third party. I don't relish in this, and... Hold it! Ara Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she gave the statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see this figure's face clearly? No, not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time, but other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Taryn, but I couldn't see who the other person was. So for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, isn't that correct? I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who is capable of murder.
Objection!
When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there was no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director? Yes, that's right. Only Starbuck and Taryn were there by that time. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished. You mean they disappeared? That's odd.
Objection!
The reason that the figure appeared to vanish is because it was the defendant. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness.
Hold it!
Hold on. Director Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off the scene? Just for a brief instance, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by. If you took your eyes off the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time. But what escape route could this person have used? That last door there, yeah. The direction opposite the control room, the southern door of the elevators. To the elevators. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been possible to escape that way.
Objection!
All things are possible, right, Dono? The real question is, do you have any proof? Oh, well... If we were just talking possibilities, we could each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who live under the surface of the moon. As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for what we've done to it. But I say, where's proof that this quaint kingdom exists? He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. And he's right, I don't have any proof yet. Still. The southern door was a possible escape route. I better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question? Yes. Why did you look away from the boarding lounge? Ha ha ha! There's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that. It was when Detective Arms saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her. What? You're saying Detective Arm raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure? I imagine her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer. I don't know about that. And were you able to prevent Detective Arm from firing her gun? I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly, and then... She fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure. She identified herself and fired 2 warning shots. This information about Detective Arm's actions sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony. Okay, well, only 1 bullet hole was found. So there's that.
Objection!
Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing? Oh, jeez! I didn't expect him to be so angry, my goodness! You doubt my words, words that will someday be written down in history books? Somehow I don't think that those exact words will ever be written down in any history books. Mr. Wright, could you please explain yourself so that we can all understand? You say that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. And yet, only 1 bullet hole was ever found at the scene. What? Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once. And yet, Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction into a history book.
Objection!
Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirmed that 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun.
Objection!
But there was only 1 bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? Ah! Bird! I like his little bandana, though. You should know the answer to that already. I should? Oh. During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We've already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as the detective's gun. What? The rifling marks also match up. Okay, that's all that. Alright. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun. Alrighty. Rifling marks. They're like a gun's fingerprints on a bullet, correct? They have to teach us this every time. And examining the rifling marks on a bullet can tell us the gun that it was fired from. One of the bullets the detective found its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came just off near the victim's oxygen tank. Right, but we couldn't find the bullet that went in the display. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. My beautiful contradiction. Gone. All gone. So that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I better update the record. Very good. Now we know the fate of both the shots Detective Arm fired. Mr. Wright, does that clear up all of your questions? No, there's that other bullet, and also, did we not find the bullet there? Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything about what happened at the scene? No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun, but that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person. Oh. Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Wright. What piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene? Alright, here we go. Teeny tiny bullet.
Take that!
Take that teeny tiny bullet. And what is this metal pellet supposed to be? Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene, Your Honor. You found it where? In a floor gutter at the crime scene. It looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a 10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than the one Detective Arm's 38 calibers. That means... Exactly. One more person must have been there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire 10 caliber bullets. And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, their detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos? Ha ha ha! Looks like you've deduced my miraculous tale of survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. What's this now? Why didn't you say that in your testimony? What? You never heard the word of any of this to me before. Ha ha ha! Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know? So Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of a third person all along. Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw. You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom you're just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. Please give accurate testimony. Yes, seriously, man. Stop lying on the stand. What I really saw at the scene... Detective Arm and I rushed to the control room together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and Taryn on the floor. We were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. I'm sorry. What? Could they see through the door? Sorry, I'm sorry. There's no window. The door was open then. Right? It had to have been. Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness entered it, does this mean the person who fired the gun had to be the defendant? Not necessarily. It still was possible that it was someone else. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Director Cosmos discovered this person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have a security lock.
Objection!
Double-edged swords are a tricky lot. Mishandle one, and it is you who is cut down. Huh? Your reasoning could apply if Space Boy were the killer as well. Think about it. Would have been discovered, he could have fired the 10 caliber gun. Detective Arm would have responded by firing 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconsciousness to invent the possibility of a third person.
Objection!
But Mr. Starbucks didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by the police. Nor has a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them.
Objection!
I mean, it's fair. Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down the chute.
Objection!
But you can't deny the possibility of a third person leaving with a weapon.
Objection!
It's up to you to prove that possibility. And I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence. What evidence? My Detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit. I forgot about that. I did forget all about that. Yeah, me too. Look, your boldness, how deliciously obvious it is that they lack the evidence to rival mine. Wow, you sliced our third-person theory to ribbons and served it to us, just like that. Yes, well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet that the mysterious figure shot. Oh, what did it hit, exactly? It hit you? It hit me. So does that mean you're a ghost? Your Honor, come on, man. I was wondering when you would realize that your boldness. Dr. Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He can even pass through walls. Eek!
Objection!
Prosecutor Blackwell, shame on you for teasing a nice old gentleman. Your baldness, it was all in jest. Please show yourself again. Are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot, Director Cosmos? Ha ha ha! I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. The bullet hit my glorious Medal of Honor, whereby it ricocheted, thus saving my life. Oh yeah, I can see it. It's like a fourth star. What? And it ricocheted, so it went down this gutter. That's unbelievable. I have to check this out. Oh wow! Look at that! There's one extra Gaiaxis star. What did I call it before? The odds are literally astronomical. I guess it really was a miracle. It's beginning to really feel like the Cosmos is watching out for Director Cosmos. Why should you conceal this information, Director Cosmos? Oh, that's a news pose. A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasion, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand. I don't know, but it sounds fishy to me. What else is he hiding? Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for him to hide that. Now then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please.
Hold it!
Is this the same? Is it going to be the same thing? I've already heard all about that part. Don't you have any new information? Well, let me see. If you have an hour or two, I could tell you all about the Hat One miracle.
Hold it!
I meant about the cave. We already know about that too. Tell us about something related to this incident. Let's see. You want to know about incidents. Well then, let me tell you about the many incidents that made me the man I am today. Yes, if you have the time, I will tell you all about the upbringing of this great man. You've told us all about that already as well. What we need now is your testimony. It's gonna go on for a while. Did I really already tell you all about my upbringing? I don't recall doing so. Director Cosmos, perhaps you should save your boastful tales for later. If I must. Well, we peeked in through the control room door, and... Okay, so they did peek through the door. I must have missed that part. Why was the door open? I'm so confused. But it was so dark you couldn't see this figure's face, isn't that right? Yes, the room was as deep and dark as outer space itself. Speaking of outer space, during the Hat One launch 7 years ago... If it's about the Hat One miracle again, you can sod off and tell it to a stray mutt. Ha ha ha! Excellent idea! No reason why the animal world shouldn't hear of my greatness. And so they shall, but first your testimony. What happened next?
Hold it!
Wait, where was it found? Because if it ricocheted... No, not that one. Along the south wall. Okay. Along the south wall. And if we look at this... Okay, so if they were... Oh, that's the exact opposite. That's a far ricochet. I'm not sure about that. I might have to present evidence with that. So in other words, you were fired at while you were in the control room door. That is correct. There's something not quite right about that. Director Cosmos, the bullet this person fired hit you, isn't that right? Yes, it was a miracle. A miracle befitting of great history-making figures such as myself. The bullet the figure fired hit me while I was in the control room. But as the Cosmos would have it, the bullet bounced off my glorious Medal of Honor. In that case, the bullet should have wound up somewhere around the control room door. Okay, so Director Cosmos was in the control room to the east, and while he was there, he was shot at by someone with a 10 caliber gun. But the bullet hit his medal, so he was about able to escape with his life. He's a very lucky man. No wonder people think he's great. Hey, I'm pretty lucky myself, so if he's a great man, then I'm the king of all the cosmos. Give it a rest, Phoenix. Though he did, defy some pretty... He had some death-defying incidents.
Objection!
Director Cosmos, I believe you are telling this great court a glorious lie. A great man like me tell a lie. Have you ever heard of such a thing in all of history? My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge. According to your testimony, you and Detective Arm were near the control room door, and the mystery figure was standing in the middle of the boarding lounge. If, as you say, the figure fired a gun at you from this position, then the bullet would have traveled in this direction. However, we found the 10 caliber bullet here. Oh. This trajectory and where the bullet was actually found contradict each other. Director Cosmos, where were you really when you were being shot at? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the human merry-go-round.
Objection!
I'm gonna get dizzy. Don't tell me you've forgotten already. Didn't the witness himself just tell you? The bullet hit his medal. Of this, there's no mistake.
Objection!
But in that case, the bullet should have been found near the east side of the room. Are you trying to say that you can explain this inconsistency? Of course. I didn't think... What? Oh, great Director Cosmos. Yes! Is there something you'd like me to expound upon? You were in fact not in the control room to the east, were you? You were looking into the lounge from the door to the south, is that not right? Why... What are you getting at? Why would he lie about that? I'm not... Use your own brain. Your head must have some other use than housing that bird's nest. Bird's nest? Why does everyone pick on my hair? Director Cosmos and the detective witnessed the scene from the southern door. Killer fired at them there, and that is where the bullet was found in the south. Ah, that makes some sense, actually. Also, the witness being at the southern door is rather favorable for the prosecution. So why hasn't he been saying it the entire time? I'm not understanding this. If he was at the southern door the whole time, then we would have been... I couldn't have argued that the the third party left through that door. Huh? I've got a bad feeling about this. How about it, Director? If you don't tell the truth this time... Oh, he broke his chains. Lovely. We're here. We're in that part of the trial. Yeah, his handcuffs. You will become but rust upon my sword. I relish the chance to cut down a great man. All right, I'll tell the truth. Just put your sword away. You are correct. I, the great Yuri Cosmos, was looking into the room from the southern door. What? Again, why? That's the complete opposite of all the testimony he's given so far. And now you've lost your possibility that the third person was in the room. Have how? The director and the detective were near the southern door. Meaning the killer couldn't have escaped through there. The western door requires print recognition. The corridor beyond was filled with smoke. The only escape route left was the eastern control room door. And the only way to get through there was with Director Cosmos' fingerprints. In short, there would be no escape for any third person had there been one. My third person just disappeared. Like in one of Trucy's magic tricks. Why was he lying? And why didn't the prosecution argue this from the start? When we kept saying that he could have gone through the... I'm so confused. Order in the court. Director Cosmos, why did you tell such an outrageous lie? Yes, please. You were covering for the defendant. Isn't that right? Yes, it was all for the love of my men. If I said I was in the eastern control room, it would mean the culprit could have escaped through the southern door. It would have meant that there could have been a third person. All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for a third person. What a convoluted lie. Is he really covering for the defendant? It looks like we've come to a conclusion. That the defense's argument, the possibility of a third person, has crumbled. No! It's over. Yikes. The judge is about to hand down his verdict. Think, Phoenix, think. This is the perfect time to try and turn my thinking around. If a third person had no way of escaping the scene, then what if one of the people at the scene was the third person? What, you mean like the detective? Or Cosmos? Wait, what if the whole premise is all wrong? Director Cosmos said he and Detective Arm rushed to the scene together. But what if that premise isn't true? What if one of them reached the scene before the other one? And if that person entered the lounge, then they would be the third person. The defendant is the only one who could have killed the victim and shot at the director. There doesn't appear to be any room for argument against these claims. I will now render my verdict.
Objection!
Please wait, Your Honor. There is still one possibility. Oh, this had better be good, Mr. Wright. There's one and only one person who could have escaped from the scene. And that person would be the first person who arrived at the scene. Then, upon entering the boarding lounge, the second person who arrived came via the southern door. That's why the first person fled from the room, using an escape route that was accessible only to them. Ooh, clever. Okay. I'm following. Very well, let's hear more about this theory. Who is the one person who could have escaped from the boarding lounge? That would be Director Cosmos, because he could go to the east room.
Take that!
What? But that's... Mr. Wright, what are you claiming here? Of all the people who were at the scene, only the witness could have escaped. The director is the only one with the authority to open the control room door, after all. But that means... Exactly. The true identity of the third person is our current witness. Director Yuri Cosmos. Order in the court, I say. Mr. Wright, you will explain yourself in more detail. I assert that Director Cosmos arrived at the scene before Detective Arm and entered the boarding lounge alone. Detective Arm arrived after that and saw a suspicious figure who was actually Director Cosmos standing in the lounge. And that's why she fired those 2 warning shots. I've been hit on the starboard side! Captain Wright! It's a direct hit on the enemy ship, sir! A magnificent shot. Warning shots fired from the enemy ship. Prepare to intercept. Cosmos, you've told a lie in this court once again. I've been hit on the port side! The enemy has called in reinforcements! Earth to Cosmos Control Center, requesting permission to ask that you return to reality. But my ship will not go down to anything less than an ultimate weapon of evidence.
Objection!
But I do have evidence. In fact, you could say that your battleship bears a scar. If Director Cosmos is the third person our Blackwood saw. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with their gun. And in return, the detective fired her warning shots. That's what this was being said. Director Cosmos must have been the one who fired the 10 caliber gun. And Detective Arm discovered him in the lounge. It only makes sense that he would have turned and shot at her. Therefore, the evidence on the director's body is a different kind of evidence than before. Once we compare it against another piece of evidence, the mark that you received from the third party will be all of the proof we need. To prove that you were the one in there in the lounge. Brace to further impact. Comparing against this piece of evidence will prove that you were the one in the lounge. We'd have to compare with the bullets.
Take that!
The 38 caliber bullet found on the floor at the scene didn't hit the oxygen tank. It hit Director Cosmos' metal. If we have that ricochet mark in the metal analyzed, I'm sure the caliber will match up. And if that mark proves to be from a 38 caliber bullet, it will prove that you are the third person we've been looking for. The bridge is destroyed! Losing altitude! All hands abandon ship! If that's true, then what about the bullet that hit the oxygen tank? It was the 10 caliber bullet. In other words, it was the bullet fired by Yuri Cosmos. Isn't that right, Director? No! You've got it all wrong! What? The engines have started again? It's a miracle! I'm not going down yet! The keyword there is yet. We need to stop this at once and confess the truth. If you don't want the history books to say that a great man was a great liar, then accept your fate and tell the truth. Are you giving me orders? Me, the great director of the Cosmos Space Center? Yeah, but the cosmos revolves around me! Oh, someone get me off this thing! Order in the court, and will someone please stop the witness from spinning? Thank goodness we were able to stop him from spinning off the face of the Earth. While he was twirling, I took the liberty of running an analysis on the mark on the metal. It was made by 38 bullets, matching it with the sights of Detective Arm's firearm. Gah! Are you ready to confess the truth, witness? No! You've got it all wrong. This is just a misunderstanding. Is he going to start piling on more lies? Looks like it. But no matter how many lies he tells, I'll just expose them one by one. I'll make that big liar tell the truth. Oh. Okay. To be continued. Alright, that felt very short. I'm looking at the timer though, and it's not, but I guess it's shorter than the other parts have been in the past. But yeah, no, all we did was talk to him, and he lied a few times, but we're not done yet, and there's enough for another. What is going on with this case? It did seem a little bit off though as I was doing that. I'm like, is it really him? And why? I don't understand. But we're running out of witnesses or like people involved. So, you know, true to form, we gotta suspect somebody and point the finger somewhere. Wow. So a short one today. So, sorry. um, we'll see how this concludes. I think the next part is the last part. So we'll see how this concludes next time. And yeah, I really don't have much to say. So I'll talk to you guys then.